In the last video, we just had finished number 5, and I told you to mark that as a test. And after the video, I looked to see which other one looked like the test, and number 7 was the one I picked. So 5 and 7. As you can see, 6 is almost exactly like 7, not that different. So 6 or 7's good, but I thought 7 was a little more similar. So how about we do 6, and then you can try 7 on your own. Okay. And we'll set up 8, and maybe you can do 8 too. Just the first step on 8's new. Everything else it will be the same. So our first step is to look at all of our denominators and pick the LCD. So this is x over 1, denominator 1. This is denominator x minus 2. And this one has a denominator of 1, x minus 3 over 1. So since there's only one minor denominator present, because these both have 1, our LCD is going to be x minus 2. A lot of students want to say x minus 2 and x minus 3, but this is a whole number over 1. So you're only looking at the minor denominators, and 1, x minus 2 means the common denominator is x minus 2. So beside every single numerator of every single term, you now write x minus 2. And because that's a binomial, I put that one in parentheses too. So on the next step, every fraction bar should disappear except for the main fraction bar. So this first one turns into just x times x minus 2. And we can drop the 1 off. That was just there to help us find this. On this one, we go ding, ding, gone. So all we have is minus x. And in the denominator, x minus 3 times x minus 2. Again, we don't need the 1. That was just there to help us find the LCD. So look at our new fraction. No fractions within fractions, just the one single bar. So now it's just a simplified problem like number 2 again. So distributing, we get x squared minus 2x. And then I'm going to put the 1 there to help us with like terms. So x squared minus 2x minus 1x. And our last step is to factor and see how that's already factored. So I'm not even going to multiply this because we want our answers all left in factored form. See, this wouldn't have been factored form because it has a subtraction outside. Factored form means multiplication side by side. And so the denominator's already like that, so why go backwards and multiply it and then factor it again, right? So for our next step, we need to combine like terms. So we're going to get x squared minus 3x. Keep the denominator factored for the last step. And then after combining like terms, then you factor the numerator. So we have 3 choices. GCF, squares, or cubes. That's the only thing 2 terms can be. So first we always have to start with GCF. Is there anything common? Yes, there's an x common. So I take an x out, divide each term by x, and 2 minus 1 on the exponents would leave x minus, here the x's cancel, 3. And then the denominator's all factored and ready for us. The first time I did this, I will tell you, I FOILed this, and then guess what? On the next step, I factored it. I went, oh, I just went backwards. So yes, this is already factored, so I just carried it across. This one was not factored because of the subtraction. So now I go, well, look at that, would ya? Common factor. Anything divided by itself is 1. So that leaves my final answer as x and x minus 2. over x minus 2, I should say. That was a nice one, wasn't it? I like that one. Really nice. Maybe I should put that one on the test instead of 6. Okay, let's go ahead, or instead of 7, I mean. Let's go ahead and look at 7. While you might be finishing copying that one, I am going to write 7 big. So we have 3 over 7x minus 1 minus 3. And then 3 over 7x minus 1 plus 3. So, your turn, just like number 6. So go ahead and shut off the video and see if you can work this one out. It's almost identical to 6. Okay, the LCD, 7x minus 1, this is 1, 7x minus 1, this is 1, so LCD, the only denominator in the whole problem besides 1 is 7x minus 1. So next to every single term, and notice there are 4 terms, so beside all 4 terms, I need to write 7x minus 1. So if it's a fraction, write it in the numerator. If it's a whole number like this, just write it right beside. If it's a fraction, write it in the numerator. If it's a whole number, side by side. So on the next step, my fractions should be gone. So let's see if that happens. So 7x minus 1, 7x minus 1, divide those, you get 1. So my first term is now 3. And then let's go ahead and distribute this. Keep in mind this is a negative 3 you're distributing. So negative 21x, positive 3. And a lot of students miss that sign on the test. A ton. A negative times a negative. So anytime I'm distributing a negative, I circle it to remind me. So negative 21x, positive 3. And then we have 7x minus 1 divided by 7x minus 1 is 1. So we have 3 again, plus 21x minus 3. And this time we're distributing a positive. So now we just have to simplify. I think we can go over here and simplify. So here we have 3 plus 3. So let's do our negative 21x in front. And then 3, let's get a different color here so we can, 3 plus 3 is 6. So negative 21x plus 6. And then this one is going to be 3 minus 3 is gone, 21x. So remember, we can't do any canceling because of that addition. So what we have to do is factor this and factor this. So I see my leading coefficient's negative. That tells me to take out a negative GCF. So what's common to these? 3. So let's take out negative 3. So divide each of these by negative 3, which is the GCF. And again, we picked a negative because the leading coefficient was negative. A negative divided by negative is positive 7x. A positive divided by negative, negative 2. And so when I see that 3 out there, that tells me, oh, why don't you factor 21 as 3 times 7 times x? Do you see why I would do that? Because in multiplication, we can cancel. So look at this. Ding! And there's my answer. So I can't do the 7s, can't do the x because that's subtraction, but I could do the 3s because that was multiplication. So that leaves my final answer as negative. I do need to keep the parentheses, so I either have to distribute the -1 or keep the parentheses. And this would be my answer. Beautiful, huh? Love these problems. They're so fun. They look so much scarier than they really are. They're really not that bad. So that is like the second one that you'll see on your test. I believe it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Number 8 is like number 5, and number 9 on your test is like number 7. Okay, let's move to this last one. So this is a blast from the past because this is going to bring you back to chapter 4. Remember your exponent rules? Remember how if you have a negative exponent, it moves down? So I want to do the first step with you, and then I'd like you to shut off the video and do the second step on your own, or the last steps. So we learned in chapter 4, whatever has a positive exponent stays up. Whatever has a negative exponent goes down. And so what a lot of students want to do is bring the b down here. No, you make it its own fraction on top of the fraction bar. So a stays up, b goes down to make it a positive exponent. And then this is -2. And then we have to do the same thing here. 1 minus 2's exponent's positive, b's exponent's positive, a needs to go down. So this would be 2b over a. So this is a good test of your exponent skills from chapter 4. So a over b minus 2, 1 minus 2b stay up because they have a positive exponent, a has a negative. Okay, now shut off the video and try the last part on your own. Now it's just a normal quote-unquote problem. So the LCD is, I see a B and I see an A. So the LCD is AB. So I put an AB in this numerator. I put an AB beside this one. I put an AB beside this term. And I put an AB in the numerator of this fraction. So even if it's not a fraction, remember it gets multiplied by AB. So then before we do anything else, we're supposed to cancel. So the B's cancel, ding, and I get A squared minus 2AB. Beautiful, look at that. See, how can this not be thought of as fun? This is great fun. So we have AB minus, here the A's cancel. So we're left with 2B squared. And remember, exponents are your big hint. This needs to be factored. So when they're two terms, which they both are, we look for GCF first. And I see an A common to both terms. So I divide each of these by A. A's cancel there. And this one, B, is common to both, so I'm going to go ahead and write that too. So A's common, pull it out. 2 minus 1, exponent 2 minus exponent 1 leaves a to the first, minus, and the a's canceled, so 2b. Over, here there was a b common, so I take a b out, and it cancels there, and here I'll be subtracting exponents. Look at that, a minus 2b. Boom. Love it. So there's my 1. And my final answer is A over B. No wonder my kids think I'm so nerdy, right? Fun stuff. Yay. Okay, that's it for 5.4. We'll start 5.5 in the next video.